Hi, this is Roy Worley. Welcome to the interview show that brings on guests from all walks of life. Yeah, it's here that they tell their stories and delve a little deeper into their lives to see what got them where they are. So grab a drink, have a seat, and relax, because this is the Leo Effect.
When was the last time a short movie shook your emotions to the core? When was the last time a short movie caused you to rethink everything you stood for? When was the last time a short movie made you proud to be an American? When was the last time you felt the emotion to stand up and cheer after a short movie? The new short movie, I've Got Your Six, written and directed by Bill Foster, one of the industry's newest and fastest climbing directors, will answer all of those questions. Rarely has there been so much packed into a short movie that when you leave, you'll feel more proud of our American military veterans. A movie that was cast only with American military veterans will have you on the edge of your seat, cheering for our veterans and what makes America great. I've Got Your Six will be hitting the film festival scene soon. Be prepared to drop what you're doing and go see this powerful movie when it comes to your area. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another exciting episode of the Leo Effects. Today, or in this particular interview, I am joined by someone that I've been waiting to do since I talked to her at the beginning of the month. This is going to be a great one. Her name is Kristen Van Nest. How are you, ma'am?
Good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well myself. So I think we'll just jump right on into this and get this ball a-rolling. What is it that you feel you might be most known for, or what is it that you do?
Yeah, so I'm a comedian. I'm a writer, actor, director. And so I'm most known for, I was a lead actress on The Chunky Zeta on Amazon Prime. And I've also been on BuzzFeed. And I run the writer's room for a YouTube channel called Night Pants. And we shoot at the YouTube space here in LA. So all the comedy stuff. I also do funny characters on Instagram and Twitter. So I have a following on both of those channels for the funny characters I do. So that's kind of what I'm known for, is all the comedy stuff across the board.
All right, there we go. All the comedy stuff. You started listing off things, comedian, writer, actor, director. And I'm thinking, oh, geez, is there anything you don't do? So what was it that you did on BuzzFeed?
I've done their videos. I was in one, Can You Guess Who's Drunk? So they brought us over and basically all of us are there, but none of us know who has been asked to drink before they shoot the video. So in the video, you have to guess which one of us is drunk. I was not the drunk person, and all of us got it wrong. But that's what I love about BuzzFeed is they do really great relatable videos. My friend was in another one where they hired former theater teachers to play charades and stuff like that. So I kind of love they just have stuff that's relatable. It's okay, I know that person, or I've been in that situation where, I'm is my friend really drunk, or are they just having a good time?
Right,
and kind of trying to figure out which it is.
That's awesome. So I have a question that I've kind of been wondering. I'm a huge fan of the BuzzFeed videos. Some of that stuff is just, it cracks me up, especially when you're trying snacks from foreign countries and things. When you go in for those, do you know what that particular filming is going to be, or do they just say, all right, show up and it'll be a surprise?
Yeah, so you know what the filming is going to be. So they'll look specifically for people who have a specific background or whatever it is. So for trying snacks from foreign countries, they'll be hey, we're looking for a British person to try American snacks.
Okay.
Yeah, so they'll look for specifically people who fit the criteria, but that's the only information you know. You don't know what snacks you're going to try, or in my case it was they had us do Jenga and they had us walk the line and stuff like that, do the alphabet backwards. So that kind of stuff I didn't know till I got there. So you can't prep in advance. You just know the general topic you'll be covering.
That's what I was wondering. most of the time it seems very improv. And I'm like, man, do they know what they're getting themselves into?
Yeah. So you're going in pretty blind, but just generally,
Yeah.
you have an idea.
That's cool. And you had said that you were also the lead actress in Chunky Zeta. For the listener's sake, what's that about?
Okay, so the premise is the lead character is actually a man in his 50s, but he in the show plays a hot sorority girl. So basically the show is it's like a dark comedy, but it's these sorority girls who like prioritize being in a sorority over everything else. So, like one of their friends like uses a hairdryer and dies, and it's like, oh, okay, whatever. Like they're just very like kind of these narcissistic characters who like are only focused, like the most important thing to them is being popular in their sorority. So I played the nerdy sorority girl. So I had like glasses and was kind of the one that like solved all the problems. Like the kind of show that all the characters are like a little ditzy and like all they care about is like, oh, I want to make out with this guy, blah, 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 that kind of stuff. And I'm the one that's like, oh yeah, we have to figure this out. Like maybe we should try and do it.
No. Okay.
Yeah. So I was in that. And that's fun. And then, as I said, I also run the writer's room for a YouTube channel. And for that, I also write, act, direct. So I'll have a sketch coming out soon, cool. Which I don't want to spoiler it, but it's about a woman from Long Island. And so I wear like a huge wig and have, I tried to tan myself so I could get that nice Long Island orange going. But I'm so pale naturally that heading up to the shoot, I like put tanning stuff on myself 3 times and I'm still kind of just like a mild tan.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, but that's coming out. And then another one I wrote, acted, and directed. It's a parody of the show Intervention. Have you ever seen that show?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the parody is, and you can check it out on YouTube. It's called Bernie Bro. The 2020 election is tearing this family apart, and it's this guy who can't stop talking about Bernie Sanders. And so his family has an intervention where they're just like, please stop talking about Bernie. But it's just, for me, it's not making fun of Bernie Sanders or Bernie's followers. It's more focused on the fact that, like, we all know those people where, like, they only talk about politics. And especially right now, it's like, okay, we get it 24/7. We don't need you to keep talking about it. Like, there are other things you can talk about.
Oh, are there? That's funny.
So yeah, basically the videos are me just being like, can you just stop talking about politics for 5 minutes, please?
And so of those things, because I'm guessing with, like BuzzFeed, you're sitting on a set, and obviously, with the Chunky Zeta, you're on a set probably. And this one coming out, I'm guessing that's more of not so much on a set.
So those we shoot so for YouTube videos, it's usually Night Pants is kind of like, it's a collective, I can't say the word, collective of people who just love making funny stuff. So It's very much like an experiment. For us, it's very much like a place to experiment and build our skills as filmmakers. So as a channel, it's like all different types of comedy videos because it's very different writers, actors, and directors. I run the writer's room, as long as a sketch is approved, anyone can shoot their sketch. So we try to keep it kind of open-ended so that people can experiment. So with that, it's more low budget than BuzzFeed has. So we'll shoot in like people's apartments. It's like a little more guerrilla style. We'll shoot in people's apartments. We'll shoot in like a park. It's very much like trying to like, okay, what do we have realistically? And that's one of the hard things when you're making like funny videos is like, okay, well, I want it to be in 6 locations, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, hold up, that's too expensive.
Okay.
You have to consider the budget. Yeah. So actually so both of those, the Bernie Bro one and the one that's coming out, we found an apartment that we shot in. And then for the Bernie Bro one, since it's based on intervention, we designed it like you would see in their show, which I've never thought about when you watch reality shows, kind of what the background is. But the DPs I work with travel around the country working on what reality shows are called unscripted on these shows. And so they like have the right eye, and we watched a ton of episodes of intervention, and the next one, not to be a spoiler, will be on Marie Kondo.
Okay.
And when you look, like, they all have kind of like these similar backgrounds. For at least in Marie Kondo's case, there's specific scenes with her, and she sits in a sofa, and it's like a very clean room. And in intervention, they do them all in like these kind of like dreary basement hotel rooms.
Oh my.
So yeah, so you don't really think about it when you're watching the show, obviously, because something really serious has happened and you're focused on that.
Mm-hmm.
But you'll see they like frame there's always like 2 plants on either side of the family, and then like it's always like very minimal furniture and stuff like that. And I never really thought about the backgrounds of those shows, but there's so much that goes into every show, even if it's like a reality show that's improvised and they're trying to pull it together in the middle of the US somewhere. They really put a lot of thought into every piece of what they're doing.
Wow. All right. Didn't think it was that deep. But that's impressive.
Not to nerd out on like reality TV background props, but I'm like, oh wow, I never thought about this.
Yeah, it really is one of those things. You go, oh, huh, yeah, guess you're right.
Yeah.
So it seems like comedy's kind of your forte here, and if memory serves correctly, you started off comedy in Shanghai.
Yeah, so I actually started in China. I was living there working in marketing, and I worked in marketing in the wine industry. So I traveled all over China hosting wine dinners because, they don't like drinking wine isn't part of their culture like it is in the U.S. So a lot of times when you're trying to sell wine in the country, it's like introducing people to wine for the first time, or it's the first time they've ever been to a wine dinner or like, a wine tasting. So that was part of my job. So I would like travel all over, and then someone was like, you connect with people through humor. And I was like, I do? And they were like, yeah. I was like, oh, okay. So I kind of realized, oh, okay, this is something I guess I'm kind of good at it. I should probably try it. And a bunch of my friends from high school were all doing improv in New York City. Like, just like a weird and like significant number of my friends all are in comedy. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll try it. And Shanghai, surprise, has an improv school.
Oh.
And it has there's an improv school there, and it has 2 stand-up clubs. So I started doing stand-up and improv. And I just kind of like loved it. There's like such an adrenaline rush when you get up on stage. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, I love this kind of like adrenaline rush of being on stage and kind of having to figure out, oh, the audience didn't like that joke, maybe I try this joke. It's very much like a on the spot, high stress problem solving, which I guess it's a little masochistic. I don't know how to say that word, masochistic. Yeah,
there you
but
go.
I just I love kind of that. And so it's I feel like anyone in comedy has like, it's like you're basically like torturing yourself in a way, putting yourself in these high stress situations. But I love it. It's so fun.
That's awesome. Like, I couldn't imagine how that would feel standing up there in front of everybody.
Yeah.
When you switched over from doing the marketing thing to, moving into, I'm assuming that you do this this comedy full time now, right?
Yeah, so I do. So I run the YouTube channel, and then I also do like BuzzFeed and kind of like one-off things. I also write a lot of comedy, so I've been published in a lot of comedic journals like McSweeney's, Slackjaw, Robot Butt, Weekly Humorist. These are all like online comedy publications that write funny articles about what's going on in the news or just life in general. So I've been published in those and literary reviews. And then I've written personal essays, like comedic personal essays. So one of them went kind of viral on a Medium publication called Humongous. Mm-hmm. And the story is, it's what if you are trapped on a 13-hour flight next to your online dating internet troll. And it's about this, it's a true story about how this guy messaged me online on a dating website. This is while I was living in China, and he lived really far away. So he lived in like, maybe like Greenwich to New York City.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't message him back. And so he messaged me again and was like, by the way, don't flatter yourself. You're not that pretty anyway.
Oh, my.
So, yeah. So I was like, oh, my God. I was so upset. I was just like, for me, it's like, you shouldn't talk to people that way. That's just a mean way of talking to anyone. It's not normal for people to say that to someone else.
Yeah.
So flash forward a couple months later, and I'm getting on a flight that transferred through Chicago to go back to Shanghai. There's 200 people on this flight, and guess who's sitting in the seat next to mine?
What?
Him. Yeah. It was like the universe just decided to play a little trick on me. So it was a 13-hour flight, and at first I wasn't sure. I was like, we'd never met in person, so I was like, why do I know this person? There's something weirdly familiar about them, but I don't know what it is. And then he opened his laptop, and his little, the little circle in a Mac of like your user profile.
Yeah.
It was the same picture as on the dating profile.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, oh my gosh, it's the same person. So then I'm like,
Target
do I
confirmed.
address it? I'm like, do I address it? I'm stuck next to this person. I can't. If I start a fight with him, I can't leave. I got to stay in this one seat that is assigned to me and on my plane ticket. So I just kind of like.
But so is he.
Chatted with him. Yeah, I think he knew too, because then he started asking me about like dating in Shanghai and what it was like, and he was like going through his Kindle, and there were like lots of books on like dating advice, and I was like, he needs those because. Just be a nice person. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to be mean to people. So anyway, I got off. We never addressed it. But when I got off the plane, I was like, I'm messaging, like angry texting my friends, like, oh, how am I going to get him? Like, and so I had a plan that like, if he reached out to me, we would get dinner. And then at dinner, I'd be like, yeah, well, this one person just said this really mean thing to me. And just kind of like bring it up that way. But he never messaged me, so I didn't get to fully seek my revenge. I just got to write an article about it on the internet.
Well, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. That's awesome. That's great. When you switched from marketing to being a comedian, did you have a lot of support, or did people think you were crazy?
I think most people were pretty supportive, because when I moved to China, I was just like, hey guys, I'm going to move to China. And everyone was like, wait, what? And I was like, yeah, I'm just not ready to, I identify Fulbright in Luxembourg. So they'd already done the like, okay, Kristen's moving to Luxembourg. Then I come back and I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to move to China. And they're like, what? Like, you've never been there. You don't speak Chinese. What? So luckily that turned out well, because I was able to work for the wine company and set up over there. So when I was like, oh, I'm going to switch to comedy, most people that I knew were like, oh, like Kristen just does what she wants and figures stuff out. So I think they weren't as maybe like I think they weren't as discouraging because they were like, you know what, she always figures out whatever she does, and she always does crazy random things. So it's not really surprising for her to do that, and like, you know, she's realistic. So I think I'm very fortunate. I think a lot of creatives talk about kind of not having support. My mother is also a painter, and my grandmother's a photographer.
Oh,
so I
wow.
grew up in a very creative family. So, like, one side of my family is very creative, and the other side's very, like, business savvy. So the business, you know, growing up, I'd be like, no, instead of taking art, you know, in high school, I'd be like, no, instead of taking art, I'm going to take Spanish because I want to learn another language. And, like, the business side would be like, yeah, learning practical skills, very good. And the creative side would be like, what are you doing? Like, you need to exercise your creativity.
Yeah.
So I have kind of like both sides in my family. Definitely the business side was like a little, like when I moved back, they were like, you should get an MBA. And I was like, I don't really want to spend more money on education. Instead, I'm going to go to improv school, which is spending money on something that'll pay me less. So that's not a rational thought. But they're like, okay, you just do that. Yeah. So, I think I'm fortunate. You hear a lot of stories about people not being supported by their families, or I think I've just always been that like black sheep that does my own thing. So people aren't surprised when I do something new. They're like, okay, she's going to do it. And they know that if they tell me I shouldn't do it, that I will just ignore them. So
That's fair.
Yeah.
So who would you say that you have a particular inspiration that you kind of aspire to be like?
Oh, yeah. Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Have you seen Fleabag?
I have not.
Oh, it's an amazing show. It won a bunch of awards this year. It's British. It's on Amazon Prime. Everyone should check it out. But she's a writer, actor, director, and she's in the comedy space. And she does a great job of like making really real characters. And in her case, she grew up Catholic, and it's kind of like her understanding her values as a Catholic.
Oh.
But it's very, very funny. And so she writes Extra X. I mean, Aziz Ansari with Master of None would be another show that I really, really love. Amy Schumer has also Trainwreck is an amazing film.
Yes.
There's a lot of like comedy. Like I feel like comedy connects people to humanity and a common human experience. And with comedy, like, you know, in everyday life, you might be having conversations with people, and when you disagree, people kind of shut down. They don't really want to keep discussing something because it makes them feel uncomfortable, and they have a different view than you, and they might not want your view. My view is that with comedy, it kind of opens the door where people feel comfortable discussing things because they're laughing, that if you were having a serious conversation, they might not be as open to. So I really like it because it just creates dialogues and kind of, it's really a reflection on our society. And I think that's something that's always healthy for any society to kind of be like, what's good and what's bad about our values, our identity, and also what do we all have in common? So I feel like for me, comedy does that. And I'd love to, my end goal is to get really into screenwriting and write kind of nonfiction about my travels. But
cool.
That's more on the kind of authorship side of things. But those are kind of like my end goals because I just feel like comedy is like healing for a society and for individuals to be like, hey, you know what? This thing that happened to you, you're not alone. Mm-hmm. And it hurts, but like we all overcome it.
Right. That's awesome. That's a beautiful way of putting that. It kind of, you know, coming back to a lighter note after that. No, just play. I'm kind of interested to know, obviously with everything you've got going on, you're an extremely busy woman. Do you have any hobbies that you try to do to keep yourself sane through all of this?
I mean, I watch a lot of TV and just like, it's hard to say hobbies because comedy is what I do, but it's also kind of a hobby.
Okay, that's fair.
In that, like, it's what I love doing. So, like, I was traveling with my brother recently, and we were at some temple, and I was, politely not bothering people, like, making a funny video. And he was like, Kristen, put your phone away. And I'm like, Nick, this is me enjoying myself. Like, this is fun for me. So I feel like kind of like the hobby side of things is like comedy is a lot of that. And I've done a lot of travel in my life. I've been to over 40 cities. I lived in Shanghai for 3.5 years. I lived in Luxembourg for a year as a Fulbright scholar. In high school and in college, I lived in Paris for brief periods. So I've done a ton of travel, and I'm definitely in a phase where I'm kind of more settling down, like I don't need to be in a new country every month. So I've been doing less travel than I've done in the past. And people always like, oh, you love travel. And I'm like, yes, I do love travel, just not right now.
Right.
So I kind of like, I very intentionally try to kind of stay in LA. It's also important when you're a performer so that you're here for your agents, because you have to be here for auditions. And so I can't travel as much because I need to be ready for auditions.
That's wow. I don't even have words. Like you're all over the place. I don't know how you do it. How do you manage it all? But I do have one more question as we're getting up towards the 30-minute mark here. I saw it on your bio, and I just got to ask, what is the Upright Citizens Brigade?
Oh, yeah. So it's a comedy school. It's an improv school that was founded by Amy Poehler, Matt Besser, Matt Walsh, and don't tell anyone I forgot the last person's name.
I will only let them hear it.
But so Amy Poehler, as you know, who's been on SNL, she is one of the founders of the school. And then Matt Walsh, he was the communications director on the show Veep.
Okay.
And Matt Besser has a podcast, Improv for Humans. So basically, back in the day, there was the school IO in Chicago, and then back in the day, they founded a school in New York where people could do improv. And now the school is both in New York and Los Angeles. So it's very much a training ground. A lot of the comedians that you see on SNL or late night shows or on TV have all trained at that school. There's kind of like in LA, there's Groundlings and UCB are the main ones. So yeah, it's a school that kind of like teaches you how to do improv.
I gotcha. That's cool. All right. I saw it on there. It's like, I got to ask about that. I want to know what this is all about.
It sounds like a cult. Maybe it is a little bit of a cult.
I kind of figured it was like a comedy troupe, if that's still a word anymore. I'm not sure. That may have went out back in the 1800s, But
we actually had a discussion with a team I was on. We were like, is troupe still a word people use? And we were like, I don't know. I mean, it is like a comedy troupe, but it's like, but that word's also so old. I don't know.
Right? You got to blow the dust off that one.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So, we're drawing up to the end here, and I definitely want people to know where they can go to follow you, like what kind of social medias you have. So if you would be so kind as to let them know at this point, that'd be great.
Yeah, so my social is at Kristen Van Nest, my name, KristenVanNest. And I am on Twitter and Instagram. And with both of those, I have a following, and every week I put funny characters up there. And I also put links to funny articles I've written, as well as sketches, like the sketch I have coming out, the Long Island Marie Kondo. So all of those go on my Twitter and Instagram. So if you like to laugh, hopefully, and you like this conversation, that's definitely the place to check out my stuff. And I'm just trying to make people laugh. That's I get joy out of that. So that's kind of what I do online. I love it.
That's awesome. And so, definitely go and check all that stuff out for sure. And check out all of the other goodies that I'm going to put links to in the description of this podcast. So, click on those, check them out, make sure that you get familiarized. It's all good stuff. And, I just want to say thank you so much, Kristen, for coming on the show and gracing me with your presence.
Thanks for having me. This has been really fun.
I'm glad. I had a lot of good laughs, and you told some awesome stories. And, if we can help you figure out where that guy is right now, maybe we can still seek that revenge.
Always searching my entire life. I will find him.
But
I'm kidding.
That's awesome. I've had a really good time with this conversation. Thank you so much. And thank you to the listeners who tuned in to check this out. I really hope you laughed as well. And, if your sides are hurting, well, that's on you. But thanks a lot, and we will see you next time. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, creatures of all ages, what an amazing show. Thank you for lending an ear and joining us. I'm the host, Ray Rumsey, and if you want to hear more interviews, simply head to anywhere podcasts are heard, Facebook or Twitter, and search The Leo Effects, with an A, not an E. If you'd like to hear me doing silly voices and making a general fool of myself, head over to Shattered Dungeons on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. We live stream every Tuesday night. More projects are in the works. For now, stay tuned for more interviews. To book yourself as a guest, you can head to theleoeffects.wixsite.com/podcast or send me an email at theleoeffects@gmail.com. Remember, this has been The Leo Effects, and great shows require great listeners, just like you. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.